So APItoolkit is an observability platform. So if you've used or come across platforms like Datadog or Sentry, we're in that same market category. But what sets us apart from them is that all those platforms are optimized for logging and for tracking errors and exceptions, crashes. But one, nobody sits down to look at logs all day. Developers only remember that they have a log when they're trying to debug issues, which means all the issues that happen which get logged, no one knows about. Two, while exceptions are nice, you need enough context. So if you have an exception or a crash, like with Sentry, you need to know the request that the customer did that caused that crash. But the third reason is that we don't operate alone in fintech or in most industries. You're usually depending on other third-party providers that you work with. And these providers break. And even more so, sometimes they might have inexperienced engineers who go ahead to make breaking changes that void the service license agreement which you have together. So APItoolkit catches all those breaking changes, so that at a glance you see any third parties that have introduced breaking changes. So the platform catches all changes, every change on your APIs or any third-party APIs, and that's what you're seeing here. And every time you log in, we try to show you what appeared since the last time, and all you have to do is just acknowledge it if your team actually created it. And so we first of all, you see the regular metrics. So we have metrics for your entire backend. This is throughput metrics, latency percentile, so how slow your endpoints were over time, as well as the error rates of your project in general. But if you head into the endpoints tab, I'll try to move this. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. Okay, let's leave this here. So if you head to endpoints, you would see all the endpoints on your server at a glance, as well as their throughput profiles. So you can look at it on a 24-hour interval or decide to sort it by pretty much anything. And then we can let's just go into one of these endpoints. So here now I've gone into this DT endpoint, and you can see the same performance characteristics, how slow the endpoint is. You can see that this endpoint is pretty slow, 3 seconds for the 90th percentile. So I can disable that to see more. The same latency numbers, but even more interesting is that all the requests that go in and out of your servers are logged, and they're logged in such a way that you can easily expand it and dive in, to look and see what's going on. What did you send? What did you receive from your customers? You can even decide to share, get a public link, which you can share directly with that customer or with that provider. For example, if they voided your agreement. I will show you more of that in a bit. And as of course you can be, it's really hard to do these demos because you can do anything. For example, now I just filtered all the requests that I get, and I can filter, or let's say I want to filter only the failing requests. So I can go to status code, that's this, and then let's say filter by. So I now filtered only the 304 status codes. But this is a very flexible query language where you can pretty much you can write any query. So I can do this, or I can do or, but let's do and queries. I want to let's do like this. Let's say I want to create a column with some data. Let's use this status. So I just add it to summary, and then it becomes a column, like you can see. So we have a lot of ways you can explore your data and to see what's going on, understand what's going on better. The next thing that might be of interest to you would be, like, again, we're catching all the changes. So every time there's a new field or some field has changed or whatever, we're catching it. And this is something that we take pride in. So if any third party changes anything, breaks anything, you would be the first to know. If there's they've added some new fields or modified the field, you would be the first to know. So let's look at this external integration. So at a glance, you would be able to see all your external integrations. For example, on this project, we have Nginx Payments, we have Power Pay Cloud, we have Wave. So if I want to see all the requests we're sending to Wave, all I have to do is click View Logs like this, and I can see the request. So this means it's an outgoing request, and I can see whatever data was sent to Wave and whatever response was returned. Next up, oh, and of course, if you want to see the performance characteristics of this provider, I'll just have to click it, so I can see that we make get and post requests. And if I go into this post request, I can see how often I was calling this Power Pay provider, as well as the error rate. Thankfully, this is a provider that doesn't have much error rate, and the requests are usually pretty fast. So you can see that Power Pay always returns a response within 136 milliseconds. That is really fast. So if I wanted to pick a payment provider or a provider like this, I would likely go with Power Pay Cloud. But you can get this kind of analytics for every third party that you rely on in your systems. We also send reports to your email. So we send this weekly report telling you which endpoints got slower, which endpoints got faster, etc. in the last week, as well as any bugs and any issues that we detected. So if you go in here, you would also see that we are able to generate OpenAPI Swagger based on how this understanding we have of your backend. So you don't have to manually write these Swagger definitions anymore. We have a functionality where you can define, let's do like where you can define this API tests. So API tests are workflows where you can say, oh, hit this endpoint, then hit this endpoint, then hit this endpoint, maybe using the data from the previous steps. So this is how you can hit any endpoints that you want to at an interval. For example, this is configured to run every 10 minutes. And at an interval, you can also define some assertions. So for example, we want to check that, we want to assert that it's a JSON path syntax. We want to check that in the response array, the completed field is always true, things like that. So we can have as many assertions as we want, and anytime this assertion fails, your team gets notified that something is wrong. Every time we log requests, we also catch any exceptions that happen. For example, this one's with red means that while we're processing this request, some errors happen, some exceptions were thrown. And this is very, very useful because, first of all, the exception, the error that happened, and you can already debug it. We have the stack trace, but also you can see the exact request that the customer made, which triggered this error. And this is useful since you can, from here, you can copy this request as a call and put it in your Postman and reproduce the bug that any customer or any user was dealing with. So there's nothing on the market that offers this intersection of use cases, tracking all your third-party requests, tracking your own requests as well, catching breaking changes, but also catching all errors and exceptions that happen in your backend, as well as allowing you to configure this test to hit your servers at an interval, or sending you this kind of report, or generating OpenAPI Swagger specifications. All right, I'm going to stop here, and I'm always available to jump on a call, so let me know